call to order the City of Eldridge, Iowa, the City Council meeting for Monday, January 27th, 2025, here at 7 p.m. But before we get to roll call, we have a swearing-in ceremony for a new city clerk.
I,
Letty Kozlowski,
do
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially,
and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of the office of the city clerk
discharge all the duties of the office of the city clerk
in the city of Eldridge, Iowa,
in the city of Eldridge, Iowa,
as now and hereafter required by law.
as now and hereafter as required by law.
Congratulations, Letty.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yossi,
Present.
Dockery,
Present.
Collins,
Present.
Campbell,
Present.
Blackwell.
Present.
Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Blackwell, second by Yossi to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Public comment. Is there anybody in the public this evening who would like to address the council on any item that is or isn't on the agenda? Okay. Number 5, Mayor's agenda. Consideration to approve the regular council meeting minutes from the January 13th, 2025 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Collins to approve the regular council minutes from January 13th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. 5B, consideration to approve the committee of whole meeting minutes from January 13th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Yossi, second by Dockery to approve the committee of whole minutes from January 13th, 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. 5C, consideration to approve the bills payable. Does anybody have any questions on the bills?
Your Honor, my questions were answered 5 minutes ago.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the bills payable?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Blackwell, second by Collins to approve the bills payable as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? The ayes have it. 5D, consideration to approve of liquor license renewal for Dollar General. Chief, I see you signed off on that. Everything looks okay?
Yep, we don't have any issues.
Does anybody have any questions for the chief on that? Do I hear a motion to approve Dollar General's liquor license renewal?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Yossi to approve the Dollar General's liquor license renewal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. 5E, consideration to approve the liquor license renewal for Maloney's Pub. Chief, I seen you signed off on that one as well.
Yep, no issues with that one either.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dockery, second by Collins to approve the liquor license renewal for Maloney's Pub. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. 5F, presentation on the Keep Study finding reported by Kent Ellis and Shive Hattery. Nevada? All right. Just stand up to the microphone. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Ken Ellis. I'm a civil engineer for the Shive Hattery consulting firm. We're based out of Cedar Rapids, and I brought with me Jack Gepson, who is our traffic engineer, and we're here to present the findings from this study we did. If you aren't familiar with what a TEAP study is, it was basically like 150 hours of consulting services that the state provides to a city to get a study of where you have operational and safety issue concerns. And you identified one and had a successful application to the DOT district. And we were one of the 2 consultants that do those studies. So we were happy to perform this study for you. And I want to thank the city and the council for letting us come in and present the findings here. And we'll be happy to answer questions. Sorry to be putting my back to you here, but I'm sure you'll have some questions. But here's Jack. He's going to present the data here.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Yeah, so I'll kind of start off with a brief background of what the study is on, go through some of the different recommendations that we've concluded with, and then we'll conclude with Kent discussing some funding opportunities or paths forward. So if you're able to see the screen, a quick background just to get everyone on the same page. The study area focused on First Street and the pedestrian trail that runs parallel to it. It also encompasses some of Lincoln Road, just around its intersection with First Street. With the trail kind of being the center of concern for citizens accessing it, both from the neighborhoods on the west side of First Street and for the neighborhood to its east that typically seems to get access on Lincoln Road on the shoulder. So here's an aerial map just to get us all on the same page with I don't know if I have there we go. Okay. Yeah. So yep, First Street right along here, and then like I was pointing out, the neighborhoods to the west here, and then also this neighborhood to the east. I might be losing battery, but that's okay. One of the first things that we've done is looked at the crash history for the area. As you can see with this data here, there weren't too many concerns. Most things seem to be operating relatively acceptably. Of course, that doesn't mean there aren't accidents, but as you can see, it's comparison to the statewide average for similar situations. Things were generally lower, which is good. So from the crash history, there are some other analysis behind the scenes, but I'll jump right to the recommendations, and then feel free to stop me with any questions you may have as we go through this, or we could save them to the end as well. One of the bigger things that impacted some of these recommendations was the speed on First Street. It was brought up during the kickoff meeting that this was a concern of the vehicle speed on First Street. And what these 2 graphs show is basically, they just confirm that with the data. So the black horizontal line is the posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. The average speed is the middle line, and the 85th percentile speed, so 85% of cars traveling at that speed or slower, that's the 85th. So you can see that going both directions, average speeds are higher than the posted speed limit, with southbound being a little higher even than northbound. And the raw data for what compiled this graph is included in the appendix of the actual report. Moving on to the recommendations though. The first recommendation that we have is to enhance the pavement markings and signage at the crossings on First Street, as there are many pedestrians trying to cross that road to get to the trail, and with several different locations to cross. It's important that each of those crossings is adequately marked and made aware to the drivers. And so what that could look like is, this is just what was study intersection 3, the recommendations there, and then this similar principles were applied at all of the areas with crossings. So as you can see, what we're recommending is the kind of refreshment or enhancement of the crosswalk markings, both across First Street and across the side street, which is Pinehurst in this example. That would be probably one of the easier things to implement, as well as the signage. As you can see, there's signage that's showing the driver that there is a crosswalk there. As currently, many of the crossings don't have signage. Let's see if I can go back. Well, it's fine. It's somewhere in this presentation is a picture of what the general crossing looks like today, but there aren't signage, or there is not signage there currently.
Or lighting.
Or lighting, yes. So another aspect of this would that be those yellow circles would be recommended lighting to help in the dark, as most serious pedestrian injuries do occur when it is dark. So that would be something to include. One thing to note here is that what you're seeing up there on the screen, those are not the flashing beacons. The flashing beacons are great in the situations that warrant them. If you put too many, though, kind of stacked up against each other, they begin to lose their effectiveness a little bit. And so since the most heavily used crossing, and maybe the most important crossing with the school being the one up at Iowa Street, already has the flashing beacon, we are not recommending at this time to implement the flashing beacon at the other crossings, just the static signs that you see there. Yeah, there's those lighting improvements that I was talking about. Moving on to more address the speed aspect of the safety along the corridor. The biggest thing that we could recommend there is to install the the speed feedback signs. One northbound, one southbound, kind of as you enter the corridor. This would be another relatively short-term thing that could fix for the problem. And these have lots of research supporting that these do in fact help to lower speeds. Coupled with the crossing improvements are just general sidewalk improvements. So one of the things the graphic you're seeing here is to actually add another crossing at the intersection of First Street and Lincoln Road. A kind of a general guiding principle of pedestrian crossings is to install a crossing where pedestrians desire to cross, kind of work with the pedestrians rather than forcing them to go way out of their preferred path. And so that's kind of what led to this recommendation of installing another crossing there, including the same lighting and pavement markings and signage recommendations that the other crossings have as well. If I flip to the next slide here, here's a bigger picture view of what we're recommending. And this is a little tricky to see here, so I apologize. But if this will work here. So basically, we are recommending to fill sidewalk in on the west side of First Street and along the north side of Lincoln Road. And that's just to facilitate pedestrians crossing at the actual crossings rather than just picking gaps and trying to make it. And it also allows a couple other things as well, as to just people can avoid traveling on the road themselves as pedestrians. The main two cases being from the neighborhood to the east that currently will use Lincoln on the shoulder to get to the trail, as well as in this Muse Circle. Currently, there's no access for pedestrians to the rest of the city from that street without using the road as the pathway. Question?
Would this sidewalk be a larger multi-purpose sidewalk?
We are not recommending, it doesn't need to necessarily be because of the trail on the other side of the road.
Okay.
But that could be something that could be discussed if this were to come to be implemented, of the size of the sidewalk.
So we're just looking at the standard.
5 foot wide, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the drawing there, you see Pinehurst Drive,
Mm-hmm.
then you go across the farm field, in the street that's stubbed, it's got a header in there to the farm
Yes.
field. That's Pinehurst also.
Okay,
Long-term, we had envisioned that street going around and tying through.
mm-hmm,
If that happens, if we can put somewhere out through there, a bike path to connect somewhere through that corridor, would the one on Lincoln Road be necessary?
would we still recommend it is the question? I think that it's never a bad idea to enhance the connectivity of the network, though with that option being there for pedestrians to get to the trail without using Lincoln, I think that would help to mitigate some of the danger issues that you see right now on Lincoln Road. I do think that it would kind of ease pedestrian, they would use the safer route to the trail, I think generally, but hard to say with certainty and never a bad idea to help the sidewalk network.
Well, you can build a sidewalk and people still walk in the street.
Yeah,
We're not gonna be able to control some of that.
exactly, yeah.
I'm one of them.
In conjunction with these sidewalk improvements, we are recommending to shift the beginning of the speed zone to the south further. And this is kind of, with that new proposed crossing at Lincoln Road and First Street, just to help cars, to attempt to help cars slow down earlier, since there is a pedestrian crossing earlier as well. And then the final and the largest, biggest scale recommendation would be a roundabout at First Street and Lincoln Road. Recommend this for consideration as this study is a little high level enough that it's hard to, there are more things to take into account, right, when you're looking into actually developing a roundabout plan. But from a safety standpoint and a general operations standpoint, it would benefit that intersection. One of the main benefits it would have would be this crossing today, since it's running parallel to First Street at such a close distance, but it's not right up against First Street, vehicles that are making this northbound right-hand turn, there's a potential conflict there where these cars are not, they may not be aware that this trail is where it is, and so maybe coming around the corner fast and then hitting potentially in a conflict zone with pedestrians. Another aspect of this that would be beneficial would be with the speeds that First Street sees. One of the things this roundabouts can do will encourage drivers to slow down and help to convey that they're entering an urban area rather than the two-lane road that they were just on. Let's see, is there anything else there? That seems like the big things. And in general, roundabouts are safer for vehicles, and so that the roundabout would enhance all of those things as well. So with that, that's the general list of our recommendations, and so I'll pass it off to Kent to talk about what funding would maybe look like for each of those. So
Is that the last line?
the one more after this.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, you can see what we put in the report was, we call them like short-term and long-term. Do we mark them that way, Jack?
Yep.
Yeah, so something that we call low-hanging fruit, something you can fix real easy would be sign improvements, feedback signs, get the pedestrian. The painting is really important. One of the highest recommendations is there's high reflectivity paint you can put down that cars see that. And man, I tell you, that makes a huge difference. Just those are some low-hanging, simple fixes. So even at night, those things light up. And you got people that aren't used to the area, it really does enhance it. So lighting improvements definitely should be considered. We just threw in some basic estimates on those things, and you kind of see what we have there. We estimated with 10 lights based on the intersections we saw. It says 10 each. So lighting improvements would be like 125,000. That would be a nice enhancement. And then your sidewalk infills, that's just based on the $30 per lineal foot, which is a ballpark for putting in sidewalk.
That's
Again,
not including any special excavating or culverts or diversion of water.
Is it, Jack? I'm not sure.
Not to a large
necessarily.
degree.
If we have to do put in a culvert, yeah, we're gonna be higher than that.
Pretty much everywhere where sidewalks missing there is gonna require it.
So then we would have to review that estimate probably. But that, again, these are all things that you're gonna consider when we have to design them. Be some design effort there. And the roundabout, of course, those have their benefits, they reduce fatalities by over 74%. It's just, but we haven't had a fatality there, we don't want one. And so I'm gonna just move into the potential funding sources. The feedback signs are pretty much, since it's not a primary road, it pretty much would be a city cost. Those LTAP would cover it, but the LTAP is a federal fund, STPG is a federal fund, and the TSIP stands for Transportation or Traffic Safety Improvement Plans. Those are all a little more elaborate type of funding sources that you'd have to apply for. That's why we list them as eligible, but are they practical? Give you some ideas, you're not gonna go after a couple feedback signs alone. But if you combined it with an SDP project, be eligible. Those are things I want you to know. So if you are looking at some improvements later on this First Street, I think you talked about it one time, I think Zach talked, the city has some future long-term things they want to do, it would be eligible for that funding source. A lot of times I used to deal, when I worked for the DOT for 39 years, and we bundled a lot of different funding sources under one project, so you could multi-fund it. Pedestrian crossings would be eligible for all those funding sources. And again, you get your STPG, which is now a federal source, out of your MPO RPA. And but if you do get a bigger project later, you can either do it then, or if you want to do it now, it might have to stand alone on some things here. The lighting improvements, same thing, they're all the same. Sidewalk infill, again. Roundabout would be eligible for, is a good one for traffic safety improvement. That's a fund that's eligible for up to $500,000. Has your city ever done a transportation TSIP funded project here? Have we had one here, Don? Those are nice pots of money. It's local, it's state money, not federal. You can let it locally, and it's up to $500,000. And you apply for it in October, I think, of each year. And roundabouts almost always get that funding source. So not to guarantee it to you at all, but that is a nice pot of money that's available for improving safety. Roundabouts fall in that. The lighting improvements could fall under a safety improvement. HSIP local is more of a systemic type improvement. If you're doing more than one spot, like several intersections, it could be eligible. It's kind of a short-term improvement that can be funded over a corridor type thing. So we'd be here to help you on any of those applications if you're interested in how to apply for them. So not to confuse you all, funding is a crazy wild west in some areas. You guys know well, but you have a lot of options here. It's how you package it or bundle it. I'd say the feedback signs could fit in any funding source as eligible, but if you can do some of these things earlier, the better. So that's kind of our recommendations. Did we kind of wind it up there, Jack? I think we did. So any questions? We'd be happy to walk you through them.
If I do any of these improvements earlier, as you mentioned, if it's in the budget and we can proceed,
Yeah.
Does that help with any submissions to these or the TSIP to show the state that Eldridge is committed with making these improvements? Does that help with getting approved or not necessarily?
Well, with TSIP, you have to have a benefit cost thing for that application. So you could describe it that you've been making improvements but again, it's just a matter of how soon you want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But will it give you a cutting edge, leading edge? Maybe not.
Okay.
But I think as a community, you need to look at what can you do to improve this corridor. And as these developments are growing out there, I'm sure you're going to see more people trying to get to this trail. And we kind of have to look at it from both ways. People trying to get to school. How about joggers going the other way? I mean, you got people accessing a pretty big recreational trail in my mind. Because when we were out there, we saw bikes, a lot of bikes, So last thing you want to do is come around that corner, boom, there's a bike in the street. So that's one of the reasons we recommended the roundabout, because the roundabout gives you a nice compatible safety benefit next to things like pedestrians and cars, and it slows people down. So those are our recommendations, and again, they would they're just recommendations. You can always mix, match, add, and try to make this corridor safer. I know you have a lot of activity down by the school, and you've already had improvement down there, which you've seen quite a few benefits of that. And but we've watched some interesting operations out there. We watched people walking through grass and yards and stuff. In just a little short time we were there. We had, 5 different cameras out there collecting data, and it does kind of capture what's going on. And so I don't have anything else.
Nevada, is it too late? Has our asphalt overlay been bid?
No.
It's currently out to
It's out to
bid.
bid.
Can we have an addendum and add these signs to that project and capture any dollars?
We have a funding source in our current budget, but I know we
We're
talked about.
planning
some
on
of these.
taking care of the crossings, the painted crossings as part of it's in the plans for the first 3 projects out to bid right now. And then I believe, talking to Van Tony, the city was just gonna purchase the signs and install them themselves, as opposed to contractor markup and stuff like that, that it would be cheaper to do that, so.
So we actually have budgeted for the signs just out of what we put in each year. We've got enough left to cover that signage, and then the feedback signs, we do have a couple of different funds that we are budgeted well over what we're estimated or projected to end the year at, that we could very easily put the roughly $11,000 for those 2 feedback signs and still get them in this fiscal year under our budget.
Yeah, based on the timing of some of these funding sources, if you've already got that one ready to go to bid, it might take a while to get those out. But the lighting improvements would be a good one to tag on to another project if you could.
When does that let? Third week in February then?
The first week in February, the 6th.
That's way too early, adding a funding source.
Well,
I believe in miracles, but.
we should also buy necessary signs to cover Price Street and First. 2 additional signs. Lighting on, if we do the sidewalk at Phil, we should probably do that prior to the lighting going up, because the grade's all gonna change.
Correct.
On the lighting, is it necessary to have one on each side of the street? Or can we get by with one, or are we assuming a liability?
That would depend on the lighting distribution. We'd have to look at that.
Because if we use a reflective paint,
Yeah.
it should light that up.
Traditionally, you want to light the pedestrian from both sides, the approaching signs. So I think that we talked about one on each side.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to implement the 2 sides, just it's kind of, I mean, I don't know if I could explain it very well, but I think the one light could potentially lead to some weird shadowing and silhouette things, and you'd have to investigate further, like what kind of light, maybe it's a different kind of light you would need, a robust light you would need to have it be a single light rather than 2. But that would be something that could be investigated in the design phase.
The only reason I'm asking is our power source runs down the west side of
West side.
First Street. We do have a small feed north of that on the east side, lighting up our Welcome to Eldridge sign. Otherwise, all the power and gas and everything is on the west side of First Street.
Can we please go back to the slide of the pedestrian crosswalk at Pinehurst?
Which one was it?
Go ahead further, you passed it.
Oh, okay, I went too fast.
That one.
That one right there, okay.
Okay, do that. Councilman Dockery is correct. It's with a division and a goal to extend Pinehurst through there as the other subdivisions started to develop through. We don't know when, of course, when that will take place. Has there been any thought, and this is why I bring this up, when individuals are at the intersection there and somebody is making a left-hand turn to head north, predominantly you're looking for vehicles in each direction before you pull out. There's many times there are pedestrians there that are waiting to cross there and not knowing or seeing the turn signal on, that they step out. And there's been a few close calls right there with individuals turning left. I haven't, it's not a close call here, but it's always been a concern with me as well when not seeing somebody until, okay, well, there's somebody there, because you're so focused on looking to make sure there's no traffic coming. Would it be beneficial at all, and this was brought up before, so as experts, would you feel to move that crosswalk a little farther north to get it out of there, so there's no potential of not seeing a pedestrian crossing at that proposed intersection?
Yeah, those all can be considered, but you're talking about Pinehurst eventually gonna go east of here, right? Straight through.
We believe that's ultimately, we don't know when or how long that's going to be. If it's 10, I don't see it in the next 5 years, I don't believe. If it's 10, if it's 15, if it's 20, it's a possibility, but that's a long time right now.
Right. I don't know where you'd move it, that, again, and we're talking about where do pedestrians cross? You can't control these guys. They're gonna go through your yard, shortcuts, whatever it takes. I'm not sure they would go to that mid-block if that's where we have to go, but they all can be looked at, you know.
Another question I,
To the south side intersection is a possibility.
Another question I have, Bettendorf on Veterans, the new Forest Grove Road. On their recreational path, they have a small stop sign on the path for every intersection. So the pedestrian has to stop to yield to the automobiles. A lot of these times, it's a question of who really has the right of way. You'll see pedestrians just walk out and expect cars to stop. Similar to up to high school, we spend all the money putting the lights in.
You see that a lot at the high school.
And the kids don't even push the button.
I think the standard is for trails to have a stop sign, but not necessarily pedestrians.
Well, it's, yeah.
We've got them on our trails out here. People just don't
But
always
that's a
obey 'em.
shared use, that's bicycles and.
Correct.
Yeah, shared.
Which, that's what's on the west side of First Street there.
I don't have that divided.
East side.
I mean, the
East side, I'm sorry.
I mean, to me, it's a wide sidewalk, basically. I don't know if you'd call that a trail. It's a trailhead, right?
That's a trailhead.
It's a trailhead.
Yeah, would there be any benefit to putting a little stop sign there?
I don't know if it's prohibited. I mean, do we prohibit something like that? I'm not, that's just
I
the
don't think there's
MTC.
anything saying we couldn't,
No?
no, I mean.
But do you see a benefit in it?
Yeah, again, if the pedestrian knows he's entering an open road is the key. They need to know there's a hazard there. And stop sign may help out. That's a good question.
I think sometimes that can introduce more confusion on who has the right of way. Where you can have situations where a driver then would think, well, why were they in the road? Like, don't they see they have the stop sign, I have the right of way? Now, I don't have any like data to back a claim like that up, but I think anecdotally, I've heard that before.
I just know Bettendorf did it all along Veterans, and I'm sure they did it for a reason.
Yes, yeah. I don't think there's any, like Zach was saying, there's nothing prohibiting it.
Right. And we heard from back here too, why not move the crosswalk to the south side of the intersection? That's a possibility too.
If we're looking at doing any improvements right now, if it's going to be funded, if it's going to potentially stop any fatalities, and why not do it while we're out there?
Exactly. So.
Can you go to the roundabout at Lincoln real quick?
You bet.
With this, I think a roundabout there is a great idea. I think for safety and slowing the vehicles down. Do you guys see a problem? Most of the time when you're going through a roundabout, they're just gonna look to the left if they're going right. Do you see any problem with the crossing there for pedestrians, since they're gonna be looking left and probably the only thing they're gonna be looking at, and going around that corner right into the pedestrian crossing?
We talked about this, we considered it, I think because we've slowed them down, and we could put some additional signage there,
Okay.
you know, but sometimes you get a lot of sign clutter, and they don't have time to see it.
Sure.
So,
No, that was just my one thing.
yeah, I'm right there with you, is that it's a single lane roundabout, which is good.
Okay.
That's good, okay. They operate much more efficiently. And
They do.
I've been to Europe lately, it's crazy, but that's, we've had a lot, there's a lot, the way they find these out is, the first year you have a roundabout, 70% of people hate them, okay? You give them a year and it flips. 70% of people like them. You don't get rid of all the haters, right? But you do flip. And when you can eliminate all these conflict points, and I think that is a federally arterial, so that's a busy road. You got a lot of traffic out there. And right now, it's just a through traffic, right? There's no stops.
Yeah.
So this could be a good improvement for you.
Another point I'd like to add about the pedestrian is that with the island in the middle, it allows the pedestrian to only focus on one direction to travel at a time, which can help with the just awareness of what vehicles are coming when.
Would this be a first roundabout for this town?
It would be. Yep.
It does make a lot of sense there, going from 45 to 35.
I think that Jack mentioned it, is that the perception as you drive first, is it, you have the perception of a cornfield to the east, it looks like you're rural, so you feel you can go, but you're really in town. It's urban. Now we're implementing trails and pedestrians.
But it was 45 for
Yeah,
20-some years too.
we gotta get this to feel like an urban section.
Yeah.
And the roundabout would be a first good step to that.
Chief, it's still 45 by that graft.
Yeah.
Would 35 at the corner of First and Blackhawk make the slowing us down, because you're gonna go through some businesses and the vocational school, that's all.
That's to the south, right?
Yeah, but
And
there's 35 from that corner on, but then you really.
And you make a good point, because there's gonna be a lot of traffic coming out of the vocational.
Quite all, that's a new building being added, or is it down here right now?
Is that gonna be considered a school zone?
It's already operable.
Yeah.
Is that considered a school zone?
That's a good question.
Cited as a
There's
school
no,
zone.
but you're not gonna have kids walking.
Across, yeah,
You're
they're
gonna
walking
have
across the
cars coming
road.
out there probably left.
But but having it slowed down to 35 rather than 45 would definitely help getting in and out of that parking
There
lot.
will be a lot of traffic.
I'm slowing it down to 40 miles an hour once they hit that intersection.
You're gonna take that building down right there, that blind spot?
It's coming down.
How big is that turnabout? I'm just curious on that. There's one on, out there by the Amazon plant that everybody goes over the middle, semis, because they can't make the turn.
Yeah.
So is that big enough for a semi to make the turns?
Yeah, it'll be designed with turning movements.
You can make it around those ones by Amazon with a semi. I've done it multiple times.
I've seen.
You just have to pay
multiple
attention.
times as well.
Yeah, there's.
Especially in the wintertime, they're gonna go straight over that.
So their first thing they did wrong is they didn't have any decorative features to the middle of it, where there was heavy snow. People
Shortcut.
didn't even know it was there.
That's true as well. I've seen them go through it. It's kind of funny to watch.
Yeah.
And that's what
Pretty
I
well.
think.
The truck aprons, yeah, the truck aprons are designed to handle the loads.
Just make it big.
You guys want an aesthetic sitting right in the middle of that thing? A big pine tree? The clock? But be prepared, we want something will take you out. I've argued many times, and when you put roundabouts in, you gotta have the proper lighting, so we're not showing all the lighting, all those things that are the elements to this thing, so. Yeah, so. Well, it's been a pleasure, putting this together for the city.
Great information, thank you.
Great to have the opportunity to meet the council, and you bet. You bet.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Do we get to take the TV home?
Only for the Super Bowl.
We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Did you guys see how you answered, he asked that question in a very roundabout way?
Yeah.
You're saying it always goes to the right?
Oh, Lord.
We give them.
Okay, so we'll move on to 6A. Consideration of the second reading of ordinance 2025-1, amending Eldridge City Code Title D, Chapter 10, Post-Construction Stormwater Management Regulations. Jeff, can I call on you for that?
Yes, Mayor, and I will save us a little bit of time and announce that I have received no comments on anything in the old business section tonight.
Okay.
Thank you for being efficient.
Catch-all phrase. It's a catch-all phrase.
So that being said, do I hear a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-1?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Campbell, second by Yossi to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-1. Roll call?
Blackwell,
Aye.
My first time. Collins,
Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
Yossi,
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, second reading passes. On to 6B, consideration of second reading of ordinance 2025-2. So we'll skip you, Jeff.
So moved.
Second.
Aye. We got 3, all right. Motion by Yossi, second by Campbell, third by Dockery to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-2. Roll call?
Dockery,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Yossi,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carries. No, no.
All right, thank you. Second reading passes. On to 6C, consideration of second reading of ordinance 2025-3, amending Eldridge City Code Title D, Chapter 2, adding solar gardens as permitted use in all districts and adding solar farms as a permitted use in I-1 light industrial.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Campbell, second by Collins to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025.
Jeff, do we specifically exempt that from being used in the I-2?
We did,
Okay.
so it is in that ordinance also as being a prohibited use in the I-2 general industrial. Just didn't make it into the title.
There's been no public input or anything with it, so.
Campbell,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Blackwell,
Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
Yossi.
Aye.
Motion carries. No, no.
All right, thank you. 6D, consideration of second reading of ordinance 2025-4, amending Eldridge City Code Title D, Chapter 2 zoning by adding Section 44 solar energy systems.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Yossi, second by Campbell, to approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-4. Roll call?
Yossi,
Aye.
Blackwell,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dockery,
Aye.
Collins.
Aye.
Motion carries. No, no.
All right, second reading of ordinance 2025-4 passes. On to 7A, new business. Consideration to approve a farm lease agreement for parcel number 932319006 between Jerry Moeller and the city of Eldridge, Iowa. Nevada, can I turn this over to you for a minute?
Thank you, Mayor. So we have our city attorney here. I sent the draft out to you as soon as she had that ready. It's also been presented to Jerry. I know that Jerry has looked over it and made one suggested edit, and that's to add 2 additional types of crops. One being alfalfa. They do sometimes put that down depending on if it's too wet or too dry this season. And they also occasionally will plant rye as a way to improve the soil. So they wanted to add those to the lease. Other than that, I don't believe there's been any suggested edits from.
That was all.
Allison's here as well if you have questions on any of the terms of the lease or suggestions, recommendations, edits.
Allison, in there, we have that we have to notify him by September 1st that he can farm it.
Yes, so, and that just coincides with state statute for, depending on which type of crop it is, that's a statutory deadline, so we just align the lease consistent with that.
But typically, you only have to notify him by September 1st if he can't farm it the following year.
Well, since he's allowing, there's different crops, and since one of them is corn, there's different termination dates that are provided, and so this lease agreement allows you guys the opportunity, you're providing him the opportunity to continue to lease it, but the city gets to pull back any portion of that property on an annual basis if you guys are ready to move or develop it or use it in some other way, so.
Right, we have to notify him by September 1st if we're gonna take productive ground out of production.
Correct. So the taking back of that farmland or redefining those property lines, what he can use for farming was aligned with the state statute requirements for when you would provide notice for a farm tenancy to end, because you would be ending a portion of it by modifying which portions he can lease.
I understand, I just read it that we had to notify him every year versus just notify him when we're gonna take stuff out of production.
Right, you'll define what he can use as farm. It's just, if it's the same several years in a row, the notice would be the same.
Just an extra step we have to take.
Anybody have any questions on that? I believe that part there was just precautionary for the city. It's something we really haven't done before with the landowner, so that's just, yes, it's an extra step, but also protects the city in the event that we find financing to move forward with a project unexpectedly.
No, I agree with that. All I'm saying is typically farm leases in Iowa, because statute, you have to notify them only if you're taking ground out of production. So versus us notifying him every year, he has a right to farm it as he chooses, unless we notify him by September 1st of a given year for the following year. Instead of us notifying him every year, it's just another thing staff's got to go through and remember to send out, that's all. Where if we take something out, you notify him by September 1st, then we can take it out of production for our own use.
So what you're recommending is simply change some verbiage in there that states we will only notify if we're taking something away. Otherwise, no news is good news on his behalf.
Correct.
Can we do that?
Yeah, you can do it that way too. The goal is just, it's a protection for the city. I know, I mean, there's a way of looking at it, I guess, as an additional administrative burden, but that reminder piece of it, he has to notify you of the crop, because there's different statutory provisions that apply, depending on if it's corn or something else. But if you want to modify it so that you don't have to notify him each year, the lease runs on it's considered an annual basis, so the relationship is reviewed on an annual basis with him, so that you don't get so far outside of that. There's a couple different reasons for that too.
Would you recommend keeping it how it is from a legal standpoint?
You know, I think because of the unexpected, I guess that's completely up to the city. If it's an administrative burden that, you know, the council doesn't want to take on to provide that type of notice, part of it is also not having a contract that gets buried and forgotten. Right. You know, if it's something that you know is coming up and by September 1st, you need to clearly identify that. It's a protection and in some ways a way for the city to remember that this exists and needs to stay on your radar. But if it's something you view more as an administrative burden, I would recommend we can modify the language that way.
Okay.
I'm in favor of leaving as written. I don't see a problem with that.
Second.
Yep, agreed.
So your motion, Scott?
Yep.
Danny seconded? Okay. Motion by Campbell, second by Collins to approve the lease agreement as written by the city attorney.
With the modification to paragraph 6 to add and allow him to also farm alfalfa and rye.
Oh, okay, with Gary's edit. All in favor?
Aye.
No, roll call, I'm sorry. No, it is votes, never mind. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Okay, the ayes have it. 7B, consideration of resolution 2025-2, approving the final plat of Lancer Run subdivision. Jeff, can I call on you for that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I did have one question on this from Mr. Kim Wilkins. It was a good question, and I think that the answer to that question is important for the council to know, the people that live around the proposed subdivision to know, and the general public. He asked if this passes tonight, can the subdivision still be changed? Because we know that the school district was having some talks with some of the residents as well as the developer. The answer is yes, it can still be changed. It would have to go in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission again to approve the change, and then come back in front of the council again to approve the change. And that is simply because it's a planned residential overlay, and city code says that's the process. The developer and the school district are both aware that it would need to go through those two steps. It doesn't have to go through any more meetings than that, and it can be approved with a new resolution, just like is being done tonight. So I thought that was a good question. I think it's important for everybody to understand that it can still be changed going forward. It just needs to go through those two steps.
Jeff, how do we get that started?
Talk to the school district or the developer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anybody have any other questions for Jeff on this? Okay. So I do hear a motion to approve the final plat of Lancer Run as submitted.
So.
Second.
Motion by Yossi, second by Campbell, to approve the final plat of Lancer Run, resolution 2025-2. Roll call.
Yossi,
Aye.
Blackwell,
Aye.
Dockery,
Nay.
Collins,
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
All right, thank you. 7C, consideration of resolution 2025-3, approving the development plan for Lancer Run. Jeff, can I call on you again? This can be changed as well.
Yes, sir. So basically the same answer.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
What was it that was in the notes that you were recommending changes before that be approved by council?
I'm sorry.
Sidewalks.
Thank you, Mr. Yossi, for bringing that up. So there was a list of recommended changes by the staff when we reviewed it, and then 2 additional changes recommended by Planning and Zoning. Those were all sent, I believe, right after the next day after the Planning and Zoning meeting, which would have been last Friday. And so we asked for changes to be submitted in order to get it into the council packet by Thursday at noon. We didn't get the changes back by then. So if this were to be passed tonight, we would ask that the motion be made to incorporate those changes, recommended changes by the city staff that were in your packet this evening as a condition for that approval.
Jeff, city staff and plan and zone.
Correct, yep. So city staff made the initial list of changes, planning and zoning added 2 more, and planning and zoning approved it based on that list of recommendations being changed to the development plan, sorry.
Chris, do you anticipate any problems with those requested changes?
I
Hi, Chris Townsend with Townsend Engineering. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't know they weren't back in until I just left my office. So I apologize for that. There's actually one, we changed everything so far. Piece of cake, no problem. The one thing that he's waiting on, trying to figure out is the outlet structure. They said we could have a smaller one, which is great, save the school district some money. And so he's just trying to figure out which one to use the lid actually on it. So it's really just kind of technicality, but not an issue at all. Apologize for not having those in, but we'll get them in tomorrow, I hope, if we can figure it out.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Do I hear a motion with those changes recommended by the city staff and planning and zoning?
I'll make that motion with all recommended changes that were presented to us in our email.
Second that.
Motion by Yossi, second by Blackwell to approve resolution 2025-3 approving development plan for Lancer Run with the changes recommended by staff and planning and zoning. Roll call.
Dockery,
Nay.
Campbell,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Yossi,
Aye.
Blackwell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. On to 7D, consideration to approve a payout of 100.92 accrued hours of sick leave in approximate value of $3,717 to Martha Nieto upon her retirement on January 31st, 2025. The Vatican calling you for this.
Thank you, Mayor. As stated in the email that you received, with Martha retiring, she's got over the 20 years in the public service, public sector, most of it on the Illinois side. By our policy for retirement, sick leave is only paid out when they meet retirement by IFRS guidelines as far as years of service and the eligibility rules under IFRS. So she would not meet that eligibility. She currently has 100.92 hours of accrued but not used sick leave. So paying that out would be approximately $3,717 pre-tax.
Have we ever done this before for an employee? Does anybody recall? Brian?
Most of the time, the employees, if not all the time, just meet the IFRS threshold for retirement.
Right.
This is just unique because she came from Illinois to our course.
Yep.
I don't see nothing wrong with it. And she came here and did a great job. So I think we're in a good position with the work that she's done. And as we continue forward with who we have now, I'm okay with it. If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second to his motion?
I'll second that motion.
A motion by Blackwell, second by Yossi to approve a payout of 100.92 hours, an approximate value of $3,717, not to exceed that, to Martha Nieto. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nays?
Nay.
The ayes have it. Number 8, 8A, City Administrator. Beth?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick updates. We do have the training for council and board members on Wednesday night of this week. It starts at 4:30 at the Scott County Library, Meeting Room B. We will be done for sure by 6. We have to be out of the room by 6. There's an event in that room after us. If you have anything specific that you want covered, please try to send me an email so we can make sure to get that added on there. Otherwise, we'll be covering the general topics that we've discussed before. We do have council next week, February 3rd. We will have a committee of the whole where we'll discuss budget and tax levy some more. We will be doing a committee of the whole on February 17th as well for further budget discussion, but that will also be the meeting that the city of Bettendorf will be coming and discussing goal setting with us. So we'll have City Administrator Decker Plain and then Mayor Bob Gallagher will be here as well. I think that's all I got.
Thanks, Nevada. Jeff, can I call on you?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I do not have anything to report this evening.
Okay. Yeah, you have it?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say I'm excited to officially be your guys' city clerk for the city of Eldridge. In your packet, we did not have the budget to actual or treasurer's report, but we plan on getting that to you sometime yet this week, and I'll send that via electronically. We're pretty much done with reconciling December. We just had a couple of things we wanted to clear up before we officially gave you that documentation.
Thank you, Letty. Chief, how about you?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things, as we were talking earlier in committee of the whole, DARE has started again. So we're getting a lot of good reception back for that. He's in his second or third week now. So we're glad to have the DARE program back. Officer Sanders has started her solo patrol. She started that on Sunday, so we're excited for her to be out there protecting the community. A couple trainings coming up this month is Rescue Task Force Active Shooter Training. We're going to be attending that with multiple agencies in Goose Lake, Iowa, around the Clinton area. We will also be using doing traffic stop CQB training with Iowa State Patrol. That will be in early March. So that's the kind of training we have coming up, and we're looking forward to that. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Would anybody else have anything else to say?
Motion for adjournment.
Okay, so your second. Motion, Dr. Reed, second by Collins to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay, ayes have it. Adjourned at 8:03. Thank you.
What did you say?